Thank you. Good. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for attending the July 20th committee of the whole. I would like to call the meeting to order at 5:40 p.m. And I call on Councillor Peeble-Clark for the land of acknowledgement, please.
I'd like to acknowledge that the municipality of St. Andrews is located on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration.
Thank you. Item 3, adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved, a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Hunt, seconder. Councillor Slinger, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Reception of delegations. 4.1, agricultural drainage. Welcome, all of you. It's so nice that you were able to all get together today. So before we start, the first one is John Preun on behalf of Concerned Farmers. I also have on my list Tina Lavallee, Joda Hofer, Trevor Pawluk, and Jeff Donahoe. Will all of you be speaking?
Judah Hofer is not available.
Okay. But you'll be the spokesperson for the whole group? Okay, so all questions must be addressed to the chair. Questions of a personal nature will not be allowed and or entertained. Delegations will be limited to 10 minutes, and the chair shall interrupt the presenter when the expired time approaches to inquire as to additional time required to complete the presentation. The chair has the sole discretion of allowing an additional 5 minutes to complete the presentation. So we have no other delegation, just you, John, speaking, so that's fine. So, Councillor Hunt?
Just a comment, we have never put 10-minute time limits on other delegations, whether it be planning delegations or planning delegations.
Well, this is what I was presented with, but
I
we'll allow
understand that.
reasonable time, because
Thank you.
this is also from our bylaw.
Thank you.
As well. Okay, could you please come forward? You can just have a seat at the table, because the other mic, they don't need it. That's right. You're good there.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. So there, in this delegation, there will be myself, Tina Lavallee, Trevor Pawluk, and Jeff Donahoe. And I will make a closing remarks when Jeff is finished. I also believe that Bentz Aldinger is coming to speak, whether he wants to speak as part of this group or not, it's up to him. The last time we had a problem like this was prior to the 2018 election. We had the same issues. We were frustrated with Public Works and the leadership of the RM. So here we are again, 8 years later, and we're running into the same issues. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Parks Creek. Parks Creek was on the radar when I was on council. There was work to be done there, but I think there was very, very little done. I don't know what the budget was, but the culverts still remain half full and do not have the capacity that they should have. Long Lake Drain was built in the 60s for a 3-inch rain over 24-hour rain event and was maintained in the early 2000s. The catchment area has changed with the drains up to Lockport Road, also fed by Peel drains. So let me stop there, and I'd ask council to put up the attachment that I did send from MASC.
The coverage one?
Yes.
Yes. And I've got a printout here as well.
So MASC does not cover everything. It hardly covers the expenses. You have a choice of choosing 50, 70, 80, or 90%, and a 90% is crop coverage plus. And the long-term yield determines your IPI, which is your individual production index. So for this example, I used an IPI of 75 bushels a week to the acre and selected 80% coverage. 75 times 80% is 60 bushels an acre, and at the set price of Manitoba Agriculture Services gives us $7.89 for the total coverage of $473. and 40 cents an acre. So what I've done is I've used 2 quarter sections, 160 acres each. The expected yield is 75 bushels an acre. On the first quarter on the left, that's 12,000 bushels. On the other quarter, I've assumed a 50% loss, so 80% is underwater, which is very typical for this rainfall event. On the other part, I still expect a yield of 75. So now I'm down to 6,000 bushels on that second quarter. 18,000 divided by 320 gives me 56.25 bushels to the acre. So I've got coverage up to 60, so I get $3.75 times 789. So the Manitoba Agriculture Services payment would be $9,465. 1,800 or 18,000 bushels of wheat off that quarter, off those 2 quarters at 875 would give me 157,500 minus the premium. $164,088.20 is what I get under that if I'm in crop insurance. Whereas if I didn't have crop insurance and the crop would not have flooded out, I would have got 24,000 bushels times 875, $210,000 gross revenue minus the premium, leaving me with $207,000. So a net loss of $42,035. It is substantial. And crop insurance does not cover anything further than that. You can purchase third-party insurance, but it is cost prohibitive. So back to my farm, I lost 600 acres in that storm. 3 days later, my son talked to Trevor from the RM and said he would come the next day to clean the debris from the culverts. 3 were plugged solid, never came with equipment, nor did he call back. Bulrushes that had been mowed the last number of years. This is not organic material that flowed off the field. This is bulrushes, plug the culverts of Long Lake itself. We can't stop a rain event like we had, but all the drains being maintained, if all the drains had been maintained, water could have drained. Crop left underwater for 2 or 3 days will not recover. Failing infrastructure. Rain events showed us how fragile the infrastructure really is. Most culverts were placed 40 to 70 years ago. Time for an upgrade. RM needs to put a budget to fix culverts and infrastructure. The province has set to rebuild bigger, rebuild stronger. Climate change tells us that these storm events will become more frequent. We need to become more resilient, or the same problems will reoccur. Our insurance premiums are going to escalate for crops and infrastructure. Never mind home insurance. Already overland flood insurance is expensive with very little coverage. You declared a state of emergency, so DFA funding is there. You can overspend your budget on repairs, remediation. You can hire third-party contractors and submit to the province for DFA funding. And I've been asked, was this done? We get very little for our taxes. Half our taxes goes to school, and most of us have land on dirt roads. No gravel, no dust off, no snow removal. Every tax dollar you get from us, only 10 to 25% is spent on agriculture. So with that, I will call our next speaker, Tina, and she's going to speak about her district, and at the end I will come and give a summary.
Counselor,
I
just a minute, Counselor Norbuck.
So, Mr. Preun, I was on a Craig Reese and I went out on Friday. We did about an hour ride, and he showed me all the damage for one. And he's got a section there he had to replant. So all that replanting is at his cost as well,
Yes.
correct? Okay. So he didn't want to lose his top, so he had to put canola in there, from what I understand, so that kept the top on.
So we're past our crop insurance deadline, so we can, anything that we plant then is to mitigate any further erosion by wind or by water on our dime.
So not even under the 43,000 that you lost right now, it's an extra loss on top of that.
That's on top.
But that number 43,000, that's per quarter section?
That's
there's-
just for that one, for
Right.
that quarter section.
Okay, but averaged out to be over your 600 acres or more, whatever. So.
Yeah.
And a decrease in, you got total losses on that amount of land, plus probably decrease in production on other land as
Well,
well.
the 600 acres that I lost.
Totally.
Total wipeout.
Thank you.
Any further questions by council? Go ahead.
Was there not a drainage committee at one point in time, 18
Yes.
years ago?
We had formed a drainage committee back in 2018, the last time we had this issue,
Okay.
but that's since gone away.
I'll talk about that. Oh, okay, sure. So.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, council. My name is Tina Lavallee. My husband and I farm west of Highway 8 and reside in Ward 5, along with many of the other people in this room. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come and voice our major concerns today. The RM of St. Andrews is approximately 10 miles wide, 30 miles long, which includes 3 miles west of Highway 8. Wards 4, 5, and 6 west of Highway 8 were heavily affected by June 9th's rain event. Wavy Creek is a very important piece of infrastructure that drains this area, and I'm aware that this falls under Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation. Saying that, that being said, the two levels of government need to communicate and be able to recognize that there are large problems and come together for some solutions going forward. And I'm not just talking about this event. This has been going on for years with Wavy Creek, in spring melts, in other rain events. This is a very large rain event, and I understand that nothing is designed for this type of rain. We understand that. We understand that. But for example, some problems on the Wavy Creek and adjoining everything that feeds into the creek municipality side. Lack of traps on the creek, damaged culverts, breaching on the dikes of the creek north and south of Clandeboye Road. And that's going into Rockwood as well, on our side and their side. Lots of eroding, which could cause possible more breaching. Damages have also been noted in previous events. Lack of any major maintenance in over 40 years since it's been dredged. I've lived here my whole life and lived on the farm, my parents' farm in the area. St. Andrews borderline to Rockwood on north side, one culvert on our side. Cross the road, 2 culverts on Rockwood side, and it's damaged as well. 10% of flow compared to full 2 culverts draining the other side of the road. And that water didn't completely leave until almost probably 2 weeks afterwards, sitting. And that's what it takes to actually drain that area when it's so full with 2+ feet of water. It takes 2, possibly close to 3 weeks to completely empty that area. Okamic Marsh Dike system is also another major concern and problems. Example, premature releasing of marsh water, and they had issues too, but they're a marsh. Releasing of water in to drain their system before our farmland was even given a chance to drain. And their dike, outside dike, also breaches in multiple spots east side of the marsh, creating more water into an already flooded system that's full, completely flooded. Carter Drain, which drains water 2 to 3 miles west of Highway 8, even farther than Hartley School, almost to the border, crosses Highway 8 with 3 culverts, cement culverts, then proceeds to cross to Norwood Road with 2 culverts, and then ends at the creek with 1 culvert to drain the whole thing. So the flow is restricted every time it crosses another road. So it bottlenecks on either side of the highway and waits for that culvert to catch up. And it won't happen until the creek drops. So it needs to be equal if you're wanting to drain that amount. It can't reduce every time. That'll reduce your flow. Wavy Creek and Okamic Marsh dikes need to function and remain contained within its banks and not add more floodwaters to an already flooded area. We as farmers and producers in this room do our due diligence within our properties to mitigate flood damage. Years of neglect are evident, putting aside the June 9th rain event. So it's been happening for a long time. It's not just this event. I mean, yes, this has really emphasized all the problems. Really, you know, it's a lot. There's a lot wrong with the system. Inside the creek and outside of the creek, leading to the creek. Small culverts, reducing the flow, holding it back. There's also another, I know John had touched on the disaster financial assistance after calling the state of emergency, but also was there a consideration of the disaster resilience enhancement for infrastructure? Question.
I'm not.
I just brought that up last meeting when we talked about having this delegation here. I brought that up the last meeting, so I was told to ask by DFA, so maybe we can have let's see, 2 of the MLAs in the crowd, maybe at the end of it, we can ask them some questions in regards to this, because I know Mr. King, Mr. Prashad have been active in promoting this program, and some press releases and that, so maybe we can hear from them and get some of those answers as well.
Sorry, but this is all a surprise to myself, the chair, and I see as well as to the CAO. Councillor Hunt never shared the details that you were coming tonight. They're not listed on the delegation. But
I didn't know neither. I didn't know neither, so.
Well, this resilience fund you're talking about, is that through the province or what are you?
Well, I would think it's through the province. Yeah, it's to enhance building back better, bridges, widening, enhancements, enlarging, making the system better, making it work better.
Oh, which I completely agree needs to be done, but we'll need to we'll have to arrange a meeting with the province.
I brought it up at the last council meeting because I went to the hall when the DFA representatives were there, and this is exactly the paper that she wrote on. This is her writing. Ask about disaster resilience enhancement for infrastructure improvements, building back better for bridges, culverts, etc. And I brought that up at the last council meeting as information. So
that's correct. Did you share that? I asked that to be shared, but
that's all I have. That's all I have.
But that's what I asked if your notes could be shared.
I mean, something.
It's in the minutes from the last meeting. So
something to be utilized.
Okay.
Something to be utilized.
Okay,
Mr. Pawluk,
I'm sure the province has,
Yeah, put the province.
I'm sure the province has all the information so they can present later for us.
Oh, exactly. Okay,
So just in closing,
thank you for bringing that.
yeah. Lori Hunt, Justin Feeblecorn, and Trevor Anshaw have toured this area with many of us in this room. We appreciate their time to listen and actually seeing the major problems that exist. I believe they've all been documented by us and by the 3 members that came to take a look. I'm hoping that everything was written down.
I'd ask you to share all your notes with the rest of the.
Yeah, I know we were both in conversation and Lori and I have as well.
We've documented all the locations
Yep.
and we're hiring, we've got some outside contractors working and we're hiring.
And going forward, we'd like to know the timeline and schedule the list. Cause I know there's a list of things people wanna get done and we never know where we are on the list. We never know the schedule of when things will be fixed. It's on the list. That's what we get told. It's on the list. So where is this prescribed list and where are our problems on this list and what's the timeline to getting to some of these? We know that it can't be fixed all in 1 year or 6 months. We need a schedule. We need regular maintenance every year. We need to nibble at it every year. These backhoes need to be out there. There's work. There is so much work out there and so much work. So in close,
Hey, question about the Okanagan Marsh drainage. You said there was like, who determines the priority and how was that done?
I have no idea who determines the priority. I think they just release when they want to release, when they have enough pressure or have enough water. Nobody is told when they release. Nobody. And that's a problem because when everything's under this much water on the outside of the dike and we're expected to take more, and when it's breaching in multiple spots and they just release when they want to release.
See, when I dealt with
Not-
Alan Linnick had the problem there, and I was dealing with, management at Okanagan. And they said they have a schedule, they always watch because Ducks Unlimited is in there, they watch when they can release. They apparently had a schedule. And I know they work very well, they were very nice to work with when.
And it doesn't, I mean, it's not to say they're releasing it from their release gates, but they're adding water into that waterway that our water needs to go into. You know, like.
Counselor Dorbosh, your comment?
Yeah, no, it's just something Councilor Keith reported when I was talking to Craig. It was just like, they just release when they release. And
Yeah.
It was a big problem because they get so full and all of a sudden it's like, well, we're just gonna dump. And they just dump into already saturated fields.
And
Because all the
that's an
culverts-
8,000 acre facility with multiple cells,
Yeah.
multiple, and they have a ring dike around it as well. They have an initial ring dike and cells within it.
And when I dealt with them, I was under the understanding they had a schedule. They released with everybody else
No.
to make sure it was good to release the water.
No,
And all the culverts were plugged right up like Park Street and.
Oh, they're all
like,
full of
it was
bull-
just
they're all
completely-
full of bull
completely
rushes.
disaster. Yeah, awful.
they're all full of bulrushes because nothing's maintained there.
It was a lose-lose.
It's a nature marsh, right? Like, they don't want to disturb anything and I mean,
So since the purpose of this is to gather information to move
Yes.
forward. Mr. Linnick is in the crowd and so is Mr. McCray, so they're both knowledgeable on that area, and maybe to get information gathered and information in the minutes, we can have them. I've heard you speak about Netley, about the marsh now, so you know, you have property there. So you know how it's run, I think we need to know that rather than just he said, she said, and moving forward, then we need to know who to talk to.
yes, exactly.
Because
And
I'm
that's a next meeting.
Hearing
Like,
some of the
that's a-
comments.
I know this
used
has
to work
nothing to
well.
do with you, but I just feel like it should be in the minutes that there's more problems than just the creek and Carter Drain in my.
Well, there's Netley Creek as well, and then we have
Yes,
further north.
exactly. There's plenty of other places, there's plenty of other producers here in this room.
We don't know
Yeah.
until we get that information.
Exactly,
And none of this he said, she said.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the two people that have land in that
Yeah.
area. And just get the 5-minute spiel on what needs to be done to
Yeah.
move forward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Okay, do this one here, Trevor Pawluk. Do you have something new then?
Evening, council. This mine's a little short, it's just what I went through with the storm, that was, I guess. I guess we had a record rainstorm events, and we were dealt with a lot of rain within the municipality, which I totally understand, everyone shared a problem. But I just like to point out the problem that became on my farmland, which is the north part of the municipality at Preun Road.
I'm sorry, what room?
Preun.
Okay.
That's northern part. I guess the rainfall, the majority of it, I believe it was all over on June 10th when everyone was showing with their fields flooded and full municipalities. But on, how could I say? After driving by, evaluating the situation, you see my farmland was underwater, which was quite significantly. So I didn't think I could do much about it, so I waited a few days. So about June 12th, I called in, made a report to the service record, is it? Service tracker. I spoke with one individual. I don't 100% his name. I made a report to come look at the drainage issue in the area because I thought maybe we could look at the situation. I never received a call back or anything. Okay, so I called back on 13th and made another report. And just to look at the water issue and nothing's moving, nothing's going down. This is like 3 days. Okay, I think I called again in the evening of the 13th as well. And never got a call back again either. And I actually called Lori because he's in charge of the area. I think he had an event going on that evening and he answered, which is great. And I talked to him about the issue I'm having, several days underwater my field, and there's a point that the plants will not survive after so many days. So I thought it's at the point it's going to become a total loss after so many days. And for example, that field alone, that's like a $50,000 loss just on one field. That it would be a total loss. So after talking to Laurie, it was late on the 13th, which I understood, and there were many issues in the rest of the municipality, which totally understood. And mine probably wasn't high priority, which I understand that too. But I did call in several times, and I think more or less I was just waiting for a call back or someone to come see the situation, because this ain't the first time in the area that there's been a flood. So I guess on the 14th, 7 a.m., I had to go out there and unclog the culvert myself. And I got a picture here. Picture how flooded the field was that morning. And that's what I was dealing with. You can see the other side of the road. There wasn't much for water holding, so mine was lost, which I understand. But I felt the culvert had to be unclogged, and I had to go ahead and do it myself. And I guess the main reason me showing up, I just like a little answers why I never even got a call back or a little guidance how to solve the situation.
So when you phoned in, who did you talk to? Because you're saying you sent in the service request.
I did call in twice. There are two individuals. There's a morning personnel and an evening personnel.
And you only service trackers are submitted online to the R website. Did you do it that way?
No, I went online and I looked for the emergency disaster, that phone number. And that's the number I called in. I talked to one personnel in the morning. I don't know the names, and another personnel in the evening. There's one for each shift, am I right? Or
Yeah, there was just so many calls coming.
yeah, it was supposed to be
Yeah,
I was told it was supposed to be documented. That, and they actually requested me to call in again if nothing gets done.
Okay, but you don't know who you spoke to.
It would be, I don't know the name, so I'm not gonna.
Seven there?
Yeah.
I can let you know that Waylon was on the phone in the morning and Jordan was on the phone in the evening.
Okay, so it was two. Okay, thank you.
That's kind of all I got to mention, just to answer to how come I didn't get a call back. Anybody to visit the situation I had at hand. Because there are houses around there as well, but thought maybe it would be a little bit of a concern.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
So the phone call on the 13th and the 14th was, I think that land of yours probably drains about a couple of sections, actually, not just yours. It all comes to that one corner.
No bottlenecks.
And the issue was plugging inside where, and he has no excavator. I said, we use a hydro pole. I went and got his own hydro pole and cleaned it out. So he did take care of it, and I appreciate it. And thank you for taking care of an issue on your own. But without that information, call back from someone would have maybe also given him that information. But again, comes with experience. You've been around long enough to know what we have to do to get these problems fixed. So
Yeah, you did guide me how to approach the situation,
Yeah,
which
thank
that's
you.
what I was kind of looking for on the phone calls. How to approach it.
Council members, any other questions? Comments? Thank you. Jeff Donahoe.
Understand.
Welcome,
Is
sure,
that my
whatever
turn?
you like.
I'm not gonna be up here very long. There's just a few points I'd like to make. First of all, I'd like some guidance. I think most of these people behind me would like some guidance. You're talking about that tracker. Who do you phone when you need some ditches done, some culverts done? I phone our counselor, Lori Hunt, and he does what he can. But when you have a public works manager that will not do anything for you, where do I go next? Do I come to a council meeting or?
You're here. So that's.
I'm here now. The damage was done a month ago. I'm just pointing out, and you're talking about them online trackers. There's two of my neighbors. This morning I talked to them. They said a year ago that they filled out the form and done all that. Haven't heard from anybody. But I'm sure we've heard enough of that tonight that hopefully
See,
something's
we
gonna
had,
get done.
Wayland, he's going through, I think it was June 26th council meeting. All these issues are coming up with service tracker. And he's looking into the main company. I'm not technology, all that, into all that. But the main company has better programs that he's looking into, because this service tracker is just not working.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not working.
And then like we take on Rockwood's water. I think the CEO last Monday even brought it up. So if we're at the end of the line, we do need the big culverts, the big ditches. Because it's Rockwood's water that flooded me and the neighbor out. A month later, the water was still there. But same thing, we mentioned to Trevor what should be done, and a lot of the farmers that are here know their land and know their drainage. They know what has to be done. Your manager doesn't listen to them. That's because we have crop insurance. Now, I'd just like to, when you guys leave these chambers sometime in your next meeting or whatever, take a look at the pictures on the wall from the councils from 20, 30 years ago. Those Reeves and councilors, those men and women, they got a lot of stuff done with probably only about 3 paid staff in this building here. Now there's probably a dozen paid staff. But a lot of them councilors were farmers. And maybe they had their drainage committees back then, but I love looking at them old pictures. Those were men and women that got stuff done. Well, farming is our livelihood. My father and my grandfather used to tell me, farmers were on the top of the totem pole. They were well respected and everyone looked up to them. Now I think we're at the bottom of the totem pole and maybe even frowned upon. I think we got to start changing that and put us back on top of that totem pole. So I'm pretty much done, but next time you guys, tomorrow, maybe when you're sitting down with your family and having a meal, think where all that came from. Think of all these people. We're fighting out there to put food on the table for this world to eat. That's pretty much all I got.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we do understand.
Yeah.
How important agriculture is. I mean, that's major. Without you, there wouldn't be
Yeah.
food, right?
Remember that when you have a meeting. Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Slaker?
Mr. Donahoe, just to correct you, I grew up in the rural country area. I fully understand what you're saying. And you're at the top of my pole.
Yeah.
So if everybody does feel that way, yeah, well, there's a lot of work to be done in the drainage world and we're well aware of it. But it is a world of its own and a damn budget that comes with it.
Yeah, yeah, like somebody said earlier, not telling the RM what they have to do, but yeah, being at the end of the line, I think we have to budget so many culverts a year. It might be a 10-year plan.
There needs to be a plan.
Yeah, I mean, we're only a quarter mile from that creek and A lot of my land had water for a week and I'm only a quarter mile away, but anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from Trevor or,
We hear from Curtis and
we're
Allen.
not on the list. You arranged something here, Counselor Hunt, but you didn't, this is the delegation form we're on.
I don't want to restrict someone from talking for, this is information gathering to speak. The vote.
Now, could you take the time to listen?
Yes, of
Sorry,
course I can.
I know it's not, I know there's
Yeah, but
legalities
the
and.
problem is there's no communication with Counselor Hunt, with, or whoever else. The rest of the council's not aware. You know, and that's why we have a delegation form. I mean, we could have people coming here from the neighborhood that we're all flooded out too. We could be here till midnight.
If you might have showed up on the flood when we were flooding in the area and called myself a couple of
Counselor
people
Hunt, you're out of
to
order.
speak, look at the area,
are
then you would
out
know
of
the situation, the dire straits that people are in.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
You might have drove the area, but you didn't tell you the same cry.
Counselor Jordan, comment.
I'm perfectly fine with having, this is a pretty important event. This is like a 1 in 10,000 year rain that we have here, and I'm okay with people want to speak. If you're gonna have the MLA speak, then I'm okay with other people speaking.
Well, the point is, this was never filled out
I
on
know,
form.
I-
As chair, I'm not advised of anything. It's all done behind the scenes. So Curtis McCray, would you like to speak? We'd like to hear from you.
I can provide information.
That would be wonderful. See you on the news.
But I guess it's, we're talking about the marsh. It's not fully your jurisdiction, but they're not helping your situation. So we need to put pressure on the marsh as well. So generally the marsh is a retention area. And unfortunately, I own a lot of land on the outlet sides of the marsh. And you would think that would offer me a source of protection, having 8,000 acres of retention. But it seems like my fields are the first to flood due to the fact there's faulty infrastructure afterwards. So even though there might have been water held back in the marsh, there's 3 culverts along Wavy that the traps were broken on. So they have fed back in, and it's not the first time that we've been fighting to get those traps replaced. And every time they fled back, I lose 600 acres of land. Now, how long did water stay in parts of St. Andrews? This picture of the last carp that was caught was July 8th. So the last carp left my field on July 8th. So a full month afterwards. And that particular field is halfway between Wavy Creek and Long Lake Drain. So I'm pretty sure there's no crop there after 4 weeks of being underwater. And the fish is a proof in the pudding. Now, how does the marsh work? So they have outlets on the north end, east end, and I think south end. And they have outlets that they can control, but on the outlet side, it's by putting a block of wood in and out of a structure to change the level that it can control. So it's not something you can just hit a button and have changed. But even in saying that, our crops that were underwater for a week may have survived. And within a week, that's time for people in the marsh to move. But you also need infrastructure outside the marsh. But we're really, like, unfortunately, this problem is not solely municipal issue. It's municipal to provincial because we have major drains that are now what class 3 makes it province. Getting old at this game. And then ducks is a whole other entity. And way back when my father was still very active and alive, there was a working group at the marsh. And so every year, twice a year, there would be a meeting of farmers and the marsh managers to suggest the goals and plans they had for the year. I would say since Rob Bruce has left Ducks Unlimited, that has fallen apart and doesn't occur anymore. But yeah, it's too bad that we can't use one of the world's largest retention ponds and use it to protect farmland. So there's a nice piece of infrastructure there that's not being utilized to its fullest. And the main reason, the main thing that Ducks tries to do is grow bulrushes. So they will drain a portion of the marsh to get it low enough to propagate bulrushes. And then the rest they need to drain off. So they're actually trying to drain more land than farmers do sometimes. They just can work in different levels. Any other questions about how the marsh functions?
So what I said earlier when I dealt with them, that they said they have a
Yeah, they don't.
routine, that when they drain the water, they look for outside levels first?
That is what's in their guidance of what they should be doing. And I have a list of things that I should be doing on my farm too that I neglect and don't do as well.
So you're, because I think we'll have to arrange a meeting with tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. I have that.
It's not an easy job to regulate the outlets, but you don't have to do it day one when it's raining. You still have time. Like if they did anything during that first week after the rain event, I'm sure I might not have had water in my field for 4 weeks.
Okay. Well, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for this, and I thank Tina again for bringing this up. Alan Melinick, did you wish to speak? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been dealing with ducks on lid since probably about 6 years ago. There definitely is some problems there. I had a meeting 2 years ago with a gentleman there that me and him actually surveyed the complete Parks Creek drain. We know where the problem is on Parks Creek drain. Since then he's gone and there's a new person taking over, and they refuse to accept the fact that there is a problem. I don't know where to turn here because the old guard is gone. The new guard doesn't seem to have the knowledge or skill to deal with it there. Concern going forward, we still have a lot of water out on these lands. Me, myself, I have probably 60 acres. There's several farmers in the community that still have probably thousands of acres underwater. My concern going forward is we got to get this water off the fields for next year because we got to put a crop in here. And if we can't get that water off the field, that's going to be a big problem. I don't know how it's going to get done. There is severe drains in concern with the moat, what I call the moat or the dike around the marsh that Nina has mentioned. That moat was built in the 70s when my father was farming there yet. The dirty 80s brought a lot of drift dirt, a lot of dry soil, eroding that system there. It needs maintenance. We need that moat to take the water away from the agricultural land severely bad. That's all I have to say here. It's I just don't know who to complain to anymore. I'm just frustrated, and yeah, we need some better decision making. A public works manager that can answer the phone. Us farmers, sometimes we get a little heated in the debate there, and a guy that hangs up the phone when we're stressed or concerned is not the answer to. I'm not screaming. I'm trying to be as calm as possible in this, but we need people with action and response, not just to hang the phone up. I think that I speak for everyone in this area with concerns with that issue there. It's very frustrating there. We need proper people in those positions to do their jobs, and if they can't, then they should be stepping aside or move on. That's all I've got to
That's
say.
wonderful.
What's the issue? What's the number one issue on the Parks Creek?
The number one issue on Parks Creek is past number 8 highway. There's a section about 1.5 miles that has been actually surveyed 2 years ago. We know where the problem is, and they refuse to accept the fact that that needs to be cleaned out. I have a gentleman's name on file. I have the new woman that looks after this, and that is Department of Highways responsibility. It's not actually the RM's responsibility, but I even made it to the fact that I'll take money out of my own pocket just to get this drained, because the water, what I call Parks Creek right now, is just a retention pond. It is not draining the water. It's retaining water. And if we can get that area cleaned out on number 8 going towards the river, it would make so much of a difference. We're taking the areas where we think it might be a problem, we're throwing money at it, and it's not. We had it surveyed 2 years ago. We know where the problem is, but no one
seems to accept the fact that let's just go in there and fix it.
That's the provincial part, right? Because that hasn't been touched in over 50 years.
Yeah, and that's been surveyed, I think,
It's been surveyed to death.
yeah, I think back in mid-2000s, there's actually still pegs on that dike from those days there, and there's all these plans, but the problem doesn't just go away, it gets worse, and now we're right at the limit where, yeah, it's just can't be solved without doing some major reconstruction.
So I understand the Park Street thing, Councilor Marecki and I are on the airport board, and we've continuously asked the province to clean that up. And it just seems to fall on deaf ears every single time, and we can't get in there as an RM because it's forbidden. So I know we have tried many times for that to be addressed, and maybe it is a change in the guard, I don't know. But it just seems to fall on deaf ears every single time, because I know there's a problem there, I do.
Councillor Hunt.
So I'll read a letter from August 25th, 2014. It was sent to Honorable Steve Ashton, and it was written by Don Hofer. So, dear Mr. Ashton, I've been tasked with the responsibility of contacting you regarding drainage issues related to Parks Creek. As per our discussion, we are still in desperate need of having Parks Creek cleaned out from the Red River to Bruno Drain. Our understanding from our previous meetings on drainage was that Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation would undertake a survey of Parks Creek from the Red River throughout to number 8 and clean out that leg of the creek based on their findings of the survey. Improvement to Parks Creek would be integral to fixing some of the drainage problems in that area. Thousands of acres of farmland are being affected by drainage problems, and economic impact of them is substantial to our farmers in the community. We have done work on Bruno Drain. I'm prepared to do more work to help out and improve the drainage situation. I look forward to hearing from you in this matter. And that was CC to Gord McIntosh, who was Minister of Conservation, and Peter Bjornson, who was MLA at that time, was Minister of Housing. So that's 2014. So that's going on 12 years ago. And we used to have committees years ago, and I brought it up at another meeting, and it was said that, well, those committees should have fixed those issues, and they don't. And we keep on handing it over to bureaucrats and that, and letting them look after it, but we don't follow up on it. Because, like you said, the guard changes, and council changes, and managers change, and it's not looked after. There was a drainage committee years ago, and it worked really, really well, and it was working well. It took off, I thought, as a good thing. We, as the committee, again, Public Works Committee that we had, working with the 4 or 5 farmers, we developed a form, and it come from RM of McDonald, which is really, really flat, and it was a form that was filled out. It even says St. Andrews on this one, that you put your drainage request in October, November, December. Public Works would look at it, it could be upstream, downstream problem, whatever the problem was, and it would be put into the queue to get done. Understanding was mud was put onto the back slope. The farmers wouldn't seed that back slope. Well, 3 or 4 years ago there's a few farmers here that got quite a bit of work done on a couple of miles, or probably 8 or 10 miles of ditching done, and just clean out, just the bulrushes clean out. So this is going back to 2007, which was, 2010 and 2011, which was presented to council, I guess, at the time. And it talked about ditches and drainage, and, about having approved enhancement projects. So not just maintenance, but having another line in the budget for approved enhancement. So the note was there are approved enhancement projects undertaken every year, or maintenance undertaken every year within operating and ditching budget. These should be identified annually within the operating budget process as enhancement programs, and therefore may be established as part of the municipality's, I guess, TCA, tangible capital assets, where these enhancement extend the life of the and the capacity of the drains, and the recommendation that the Council of St. Andrews, based on the suggestion for department plus council input, establish an annual ditch and drainage enhancement program separate from the annual ditch and drainage maintenance program, which would establish as a separate ditches and drainage project line within the department's annual budget. And further, that ditches and drainage enhancement would be considered work which is intended to extend the life of the asset and increase the drainage capacity of the asset. So, we bring this stuff to administration and to managers, and I don't know where it goes. We talk about And it has to stay on the table now because of this group, you know, and it's not gonna get better. We're gonna see this all the time. We talk about culverts too small. They're also too small, but they're also not working to capacity, or they are damaged. Before we stop or we end, I got a couple of pictures of some culverts that were damaged. We had to open up a road. And there's always ways of working around it, but we can't let this fall off the table. We have to keep on it and enhance the infrastructure that we have. And there's another letter in here for the people in the north from October the 6th, 2014. Or a later one, I guess, that was written to Mr. Ashton too, for Thomas Road drain and a drain up in that area, because we have insufficient drain up in the north as well. Because there is no good drain in the northern part of St. Andrews. It has to go into Boundary Creek and into Gimli. The other drain is pretty large, crosses number 9 highway, but it goes through a little meandering drain through the village of Donahoe. And it's plugged in areas, and we just seem to look down from the road, look down at drain, oh, that looks okay, you know. But they need to be flown. I've asked for a drone to be flown around the area when we had these issues to see when we were flooding, and then the fields that are flooded out, you know. I don't know if we have that or not, but we should take advantage of technology. We have LiDAR technology now from our watershed district and Red River Basin to use at our disposal, and let's start using this technology. And you farmers have way more technology than we do in your planting capabilities and that. So anyway, the information is here and we have to start using it.
So I know we determined drainage to be a high priority a number of years ago, and been looking to have a budget line for drainage and have a drainage reserve. Would you be able to just, what is our current reserve at, and what are we projected to pull every year? I kind of put you on the spot.
Yeah, you did a little bit. I know it's about $20,000 or $30,000 that we put in every year to it. I'm actually not sure what we're at right now. It's not a lot.
No, because we took out 55 or 77,000
Yeah, 77,000 for the Bruno drain study.
for the Bruno drain study. That was good by council last year. So what, you have a question?
No, just I asked a question as to what we have for drainage and what are we projecting to go forward.
But what we can't forget, and I'll say this again, is in our budget line, we have fuel and wages, which is wages is in the millions, or $1 million, and fuel is $500,000 or more. And that fuel and wages goes into the excavators, the mowers that cut the grass, and maybe even some rental equipment. There's a line item in the budget for rental equipment. Let's take advantage of that. And let's take advantage of that enhancement and get some equipment rented and clean out those drains while we have a chance for DFA funding. I know there's only one taxpayer and that's all of us, but let's take advantage of it. And like every other RM, I'm sure there's other RMs around, you see it on the news that have equipment galore in their municipality working. So.
Deputy Mayor Murray.
Yeah, okay, first of all, thank you for coming down and talking to us about this. The RM has about 765 kilometers of road. So that means, the same number of ditches that you have to maintain. Public Works budget is in the neighborhood of $7 million, which for an RM that size or our size really isn't a heck of a lot of money. But it's what we can muster. I think probably this is something that's many councils come and go, and it just doesn't seem to get anywhere. Yes, the RM has to do better. We need to do better. We certainly do have some shortfalls in the area. What I'm hearing from everyone here is that a starting point, this is just my opinion, okay? What we should do, and I hate to say this, but what we need to do is have a comprehensive plan, get a consultant, get a plan together, a plan that would not only benefit farmers, but there's a lot of residents who also lost their homes. Get a comprehensive plan together and then follow that comprehensive plan. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of money to to get an outside agency and give us a comprehensive study. But in the long run, I think it is better, and I think that that would be perhaps a good starting point for us.
I mean, why do we have to hire an agency when we have the professionals right here?
We're on the ground.
Okay.
Seeing-
Yeah, okay, you're just talking about your particular area, right?
No, I'm speaking for the whole.
Oh,
area.
okay, so you're talking about the north part of St. Andrews, okay? So the south part of St. Andrews has problems too in drainage. So what you have to do is you have to have a drainage plan that is fair to all. And that's why you get the outside consultant in to do a comprehensive study, and then they would present us with a plan, and then we work the plan. If you have any other suggestions or another way to do that, I would be really happy to hear that.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with that because there is no north and no south, they're all St. Andrews, so, I'm assuming that not every drain is plugged. Some are worse than others. I believe a drone would help. Go up, take a survey, take a peek at what's going on, and then kind of find out where these blockages are, you can kind of get the water flowing again. So, and I'm asking, would that help?
I guess
You know the land.
will help, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, asking the senior farmers, they've been in the area for their whole lives. I'm still young here yet, I don't know, have all the answers, but the old boys seem to have it, they know it. They know where it needs to be fixed, and I would strongly take their
Okay.
advice.
when I was up with Craig, it was like, this is here, this is here, this is here, this is here, I'm like, holy cow, like this is like, it was, like, I knew there was issues, but when you see all that stuff sitting there plugging up the drains, it was a big eye opener. And I know Councillor Hyde and Councillor People and I were out in the middle of June there, just taking a look and seeing all the damage that was done. It was absolutely significant because it's in the south where I am, get the demographic going, but I had a bunch of rain. I just dumped out of my pool. It was just so much rain that you guys had, and I felt for it, absolutely 100%. So how do we correct this? Do we start another drainage committee and get some of the farmers on the drainage committee, and you start talking to each other again and getting this stuff done? And like Tina said, it's not going to be done in a year. It's going to take time. And I'm assuming that after harvest, you can get in there with some excavators, dig it with a bucket, and throw some of that stuff back on the field, because you don't need to carry it away. You can just put it on the field, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Whatever that stuff is hanging there.
Yeah.
So that saves costs.
Doesn't even need to wait till harvest. In the drowned areas where you can access, do it.
Okay.
Do it. You're not doing any more damage.
Okay.
Like, let's get on it. Let's get these machines.
Councillor People, who you have a comment, question?
Yeah, I don't know if a drone is necessary, just a couple drives around with the local farmers. I learned so much information and hands-on visual of what the problems are. So I think if we focus on some of the primary issues right off the hop, and then look at the long term, but there's some priority drainage issues that need to be looked at, I think, immediately this year.
Yeah, perhaps, I wasn't exactly clear there. What I'm talking about is, we have a short-term problem and we have a long-term problem that affects all the residents. And what I was proposing was a study for the long-term effect, not the short-term, what we do in the next year or what we do in the 6 months, because that's something we can handle now.
Councillor Munder?
Has anybody reached out to the Eastern Interlake Watershed District in regards to potential water retention and being paid from the government for land, for that kind of thing?
Over the years, I've applied to it, but where my land actually sits is not conducive to holding back water. It's too flat. I do have one area of retention on the corner of Clandeboy Road and the Whiskey Ditch Road. There's 80 acres of retention there. But that's only every time we get a drain out or rain that affects that drain out there, it'll bulge to 80 acres and it goes back in. And I've never been paid for it, but I just left it as a retention pond because it drowns out every year and I'm tired of wasting money out there.
Yeah, because I know me and my dad have hunted all over the RM for 50 years, ducks and geese, and it's changed immensely in that time frame. With the, you know, the little sloughs, potholes, what have you, being drained, and I think that is some of the issues and the problem. This water can't sit there anymore. You know, everybody wants to move along to make money on their crops, and yeah, the drains are a big issue, huge issue. And we need to do better.
Okay, Trevor.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alan. Did you wish to?
Bentz and then I will conclude. Well, I'm not gonna take up too much of your time, my own Mayor Silva. But thank you.
Have a seat if you want.
Oh, I'm good right here. Thanks for giving the attention to listen to all these producers and the time. I know it's a busy life being an RM counselor, and council meetings, you got lots to deal with. So thank you for giving them that time and attention, because it's important. I don't think that all levels of government understand the investment and the time that they put into, and that they're losing throughout, not just this rain event, but a 2 or 3 inch rain over there. And being a producer myself, I get it. So I just want to say, I know I've been spending some time doing some advocating. My whole constituency, the south end of Lakeside, has been affected by this, and I got 3 watersheds right now that we're dealing with, which we want to see better management and control of infrastructure. Of the infrastructure controls. We want answers on what the guidelines are to be, whether they're being followed. So that's what I've been advocating for quite a bit in the last few weeks, is to get these answers. I've sent lots of letters to the minister over the last number of weeks since June 9th with no response. So what I want to see is the producers, municipalities, and all of their elected representatives work together to advocate for these maintenance improvements that need to be done, that have been neglected over years and years, that could help, maybe not an event like this, save all of their investment, but a very good part of it. One bad year in agriculture takes a few of them to recover from. So I just want you to know I'm here. I know Richard is here. We're advocating on your behalf. But I really want to see a working group on each of these watersheds. I'm starting with Wavy Creek as part of mine in Stony Mountain. We've had some producers there. But what happens when we do clean outs in Lakeside and it doesn't happen in St. Andrews? We're just dumping the problem onto someone else. We need to work together to see that it's done strategically. Curtis has taken me out and shown, McCray has shown me some of that, what he calls, and it's a good term, is low-hanging fruit of maintenance problems that can be done to help mitigate some of these issues. So if we can get a push to get some of these things done, work together, whether it mean each watershed has, but you need to involve your producers. Nobody knows the land, the lay of the land better than they do, and there's no better managers than themselves. They're all looking for the most efficient ways to keep their operations going. So don't be afraid to ever reach out to them. And this is good. You can see the representation you have and the passion about it. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'll let Richard close it off, see how I'm on his trip.
Thanks, everybody. First of all, I want to thank the farmers for coming out and for everything you guys did. Extremely important, not only economically, but feeding the world and taking care of stuff. We heard comments earlier about consultants or whatever. These are the best consultants you'll ever find anywhere in the community. They're multi-generational knowledge passed down on what flows, what goes where. And I'm often shocked. I'm shocked that infrastructure falls so bad. We see it in the city of Winnipeg where the pipe that runs under the curing sewage runs under the river, rocks out. People go, oh, it rotted out. Well, you knew when you put the pipe in there, it was going to rot. We know when we put culverts in the ground, they're going to fill. We know that when we have ditches filling up with different debris and material, they need to be cleaned. And we know that if we ignore those factors, we're going to continue to have the same problems. And everybody in the room knows that we're not gonna flick a switch or snap a finger and things are gonna get changed overnight. But we need to direct change. We need to have a plan moving forward. We need to say, yes, the low hanging fruit, we need to address that right away, but we need to have a strategic plan moving forward to say, these culverts, these 24-inch culverts, they're subpar from 50 years ago, need to be changed. And what is the level that we're gonna do? What is the size of culvert? Are we gonna just go to a 30-inch or a 36 or a 42? That's planning that has to be done from a committee, from a group that knows the hydraulic nature of the area, from the farmers that are in this room. And they know that some of the infrastructure, if it had been working correctly at the time, possibly their fields would have drained within the 3 days. And they would still have crops to take off at harvest. But we have failures up there. And nobody wants to sit here and point fingers because it's nobody's fault in this room. This is generational problems that happen. This is kicking the can down the road, hoping somebody will fix it in the future. And I was there with Mr. Olenek. We had the government come out, a number of producers. We stood on the other side of Oakhammock Marsh. We talked to the member who was the senior foreman or the senior person at the time, and he was going to be retiring in 3 weeks. And we had Twyla, who was the lady there who was going to be replacing him. And she had said, yes, we're going to come here. We're going to fix this problem. We're going to get a drone to fly over. We're going to figure this out. And when I followed up after, what did your findings happen? What did the drone tell you? Well, we can't run a drone there. We're too close to the proximity of the airport. So we're gonna survey the area. We're gonna get on quads and survey. And then when I followed up again, they said, unfortunately, Mr. Prashad, you're in opposition, and I will only be dealing with people in government. Oh. So it becomes a political thing. Being a farmer isn't political. Feeding the world isn't political. Getting the land off, the water off your crops so you can harvest properly isn't political. We need to take the political agendas and leave those at the door, keep your biases away, and move forward to unite not only council, but the province. Now, I'm happy that Trevor's here. We didn't even speak to each other. I didn't know he was coming until he walked through the door. And I'm always proud to be working alongside somebody like Trevor, who's there to represent his community. And not only that, he's representing the community that I'm representing. I want to thank the farmers for everything they do. And whatever help they need from myself, my office, and also from Trevor, we're prepared to do it. We can only do so much, but if we all get on the same page and say, let's get a plan together. And I heard earlier where Tina said that where on the list are we? That should be difficult. I mean, I don't know why it's so difficult for governments to say, you know, in 2027, we're going to repair this road, or we're going to do this culvert, or we're going to do this part of the infrastructure, and that's part of our budget, because that should have already been costed. That's part where your budget's going to come from. I've been in private industry all my life, and preventive maintenance will save you 10 times the cost of reactive maintenance. And if we're not doing preventive maintenance, we're going to have a situation where the producers are flooded out, where they can't get in their fields. The cost to operate is going to get driven up, where people will be forced out of this profession. And this is something we don't want. We're going to keep losing out to these incredible producers who come out year in and year out, put their money and their time at risk for hopefully a profit at the end of the year if everything goes correct. And that is truly something that should be respected. Top of the totem pole. Every single time. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll have Bentz Aldinger. Hi, Bentz.
Evening, council and mayor. So some of this, I don't want to overlap too much with some of the other speakers here tonight. But my family and I, we farm across 3 different wards within the RRPD, wards 4, 5, and 6. So And all throughout, we would echo largely, a lot of these same situations are happening. Parks Creek Drain, for example, we have land that run, water drains into there. We have infrastructure that was damaged by municipal equipment. We have culverts that have markers on them, yet we're going and trying to find a pipe with the hole. Instead of staying 10 feet away and not damaging our culverts and bending them in and reducing flow capacity, there's direction given that, we got to dig to find the pipe. I don't see a need for, accidents can happen, when you're operating a big piece of equipment, absolutely accidents can happen. But when we have markers on culverts and they're either collapsed, reducing flow by 3/4, half, a quarter, you name it. And I'd gladly show any counselor that, or the mayor who wishes to go for a drive around throughout those 3 wards. There's more damaged infrastructure than not. Some of this is brand new that's been recently replaced, yet it's damaged. If we go and replace it, we're threatened that, this is RM property. We're not allowed to go and straighten culverts, or if it's bent right in and we have to take a cutting torch to cut it open, we're threatened that we owe the RM a new culvert. Okay. So I'll just start from the south and I'll work my way. Okay. So the Parks Creek Drain, I encourage anybody that wants to go for a drive on the dike on the Parks Creek Drain, have a look at the southern slope and how the dike is blowing out there out of the marsh. It's in free flow. They have their structure already, put their boards in, and Alan Olenek, and he can speak probably more because he lives there, but I've seen it firsthand, and anybody can go and walk and look at how that infrastructure has failed. And this is not because of this rain. This has been happening from a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Now this rain exaggerated the problem, and it ultimately washes the dike out there, right? So that drain, as you go towards the railway tracks, the Highway 9, you go drive there right now, cross the Park Street Drain on Highway 8, and there's approximately 3 to 4 feet of water in that drain as we speak. If you go and look on the outlet side on number 9, where it goes under number 9, the water is barely a trickle. Go walk down the railway tracks and going into that field, like, we're not talking now, the whole drain needs attention, but the problem is relatively simple. It's in the last leg of the drain, in the last mile to mile and a half. Okay. So, and if somebody flew a drone or was able to fly a drone in there, you can also walk, but when there's crop in there in the field, you can't really access it, right? And you're going across somebody else's property, but there is a right of way along the drain. So in the fall, somebody could drive and look at that. As we look at our various, we have to have a strategic look at our drainage system. We have several main drains that are being underutilized, be it from the south to the north. Now, I'm going to talk in relation to where our land is situated, and that is between Selkirk into the Rockwood boundary. We have land in Rockwood. We go from Lockport Road all the way out to Road 90, spread out all throughout. So we have a fairly vast knowledge of, and because we're spread out, we see all these various issues because we share common issues with everybody in this room right now. There's hardly, maybe with the exception of 1 or 2 that's further north, we share common drainage concerns with just about everybody in this room. Okay. So we have drains that run through Lower Fort Garry, huge capacity, and after a big rain event, there's barely a trickle going down there. we're trying to send water uphill in some cases and around the long way where we could, with minimum investment, we could send some of that water instead of going either north or south. We could send that water straight to the river. Flood of 97. And there was no water that backed into any of these drains that go to the river. Just to put it into context, how much grade we have. We have something that a lot of RMs south of the city do not have. They have sometimes only inches of grade per mile. We have sometimes 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 feet of grade per mile as you get towards the river. Yet we're not effectively using that grade. For example, we have land that shares with H&M Farms, Jeff Donahoe, Leonard Unrell, Lavallee's. We have land that shares with, we share drainage, where we go into Long Lake Drain, Preun's, Reese, Austin. I can go down the list. Everybody in this room, Fries is unique. Now, on Petersfield Road, for example, there's several sections of land, both on the north and south side of Petersfield Road, 1 mile in from Highway 8, from Hartley School Road to Chaz Pruden Road. Jeff Donahoe out of a half section, if he wants to speak up how much he lost, it's 90%, 95%. And what was left was 100% underwater, and then there's a few little hills that came out of water within a week or two, and then, there's a little bit of crop then. Our adjoining land, so he has a half section, and it's kind of an L shape, and then we have the half section out of that section next to his. So the water has to go down Petersfield Road to Highway 8, and then Highway 8 go, I believe it's called Old Stone Creek. Between Anderson Road, I don't know if Lori is familiar with that.
Yeah.
Is that the correct name?
I think it's called.
That's
Anderson.
Or the Anderson Drain. I've heard guys use different names for that. Okay, so I drove around with Trevor, and I showed him some of these problem areas because some of this stuff can't be addressed in the service tracker, right? There's certain problems that you can put in a service tracker that you can describe accurately. But when you have multiple problems, bent culverts, grade issues, all that kind of stuff, that requires, a personal one-on-one, go for a drive. Let's have a look at what's going on, right? And now's a perfect time for anybody in this room to go for a drive. Now that the water has mostly receded, now is the time to survey this damage. We can have all the independent reports in the world, but right now, it tells the problem very clearly. Now, I took my Saturday because the RM said it was too wet to go and shoot elevations on any of these drains. This past Saturday, I went and I took some levels on Petersfield Road, for example, and Anderson Road. So Jeff Donahoe has substantial land over there, ourselves, H&M, Lavallee's, Dolman's, and we can go down the list. There's numerous people that are affected. We're not talking about one individual, and then all the homes that are spread out throughout there. There's houses on Petersfield Road that are affected by high water as well. So this is not strictly an agricultural problem. We share a lot of issues with a lot of homeowners, but yet we're prioritized. What are we always told? How the residential is priority, agriculture is low priority. I've been told by workers from the RM that our land is just there to store water. When that's your livelihood and you're told that you're just there to store water, I don't find that acceptable. I understand that there has to be priorities, but a lot of our issues are being dismissed. And I think we're an underrepresented group of the tax base because there's not many farmers left anymore, and that's just the way it is. And whether people like it or not, it continues to consolidate, but we're all trying to make a living, and drainage is our number one issue that will either bring us success or failure. So back to Petersfield Road. So I drove around with Trevor and he said that it's too wet to survey. So on Saturday, I went out and I surveyed that drain just to see how much grade we have to work with. So on the south side of Petersfield Road, there's two big concrete pipes under Petersfield Road. They go a quarter mile north, and then there's another two pipes. They go under number 8, and then it goes to that creek. So the two pipes under Highway 8 to the two pipes that go under Petersfield Road, we have 1 foot of drop on a quarter mile. Substantial grade. Then the two pipes under Petersfield Road on the south side to Hartley School Road, we have on that 3 feet 4 inches of grade to work with. Yet on that drain, when I go 30 feet north of that pipe, we climb by 1 foot 8 inches. The drain climbs. 3 hydro poles down to however wide the hydro poles are set out. I didn't measure specifically, but by the time I got 3 poles down, we reached the elevation of the next 4 pipes, and some pipes are actually higher than the Hartley School Road. The pipes sit higher on one of the residences, so the water actually can't even properly drain off through there. Now, there's no grade, barely. The drain is run almost flat. We've got pipes that are sitting high, we got pipes that are bent, and we got pipes that are raw within that drain. So point being is we have substantial grade to work with. That's one example. I go over another mile to Anderson Road, I shoot the grade there. There's two pipes that go under Highway 8 south of the Anderson Road. So if I go from there to Hartley School Road, which the drain goes in a bit of an L, so we're talking 1.25 miles, mile and 3/8. And we got 5 feet 7 inches of drop to work with. Yet on the last half mile, the drain runs flat, and then it drops into the pipes by almost 4 feet. So these are examples. Now this is a small example. I can go down the list, and I can go throughout the various areas we farm in the RM and that other people in the route farm. Okay, so now if the RM is unable to do this in a timely fashion, then how do we work collaboratively with the RM, whether it be cost sharing? And I hate to say this, but you know, there's instances where it costs us so much money in lost production, and not just because of this 11 or 12 inch or 8 inch or 7 inch rate. This happens when we have 2, 3, and 4 inches. Just might not be quite as severe. Okay. Now, a lot of our damages next to Jeff Donahoe's field, we lost, in terms of complete loss, we lost close to half. Then there's a lot of areas that are a near loss because the crop was underwater for 3 weeks. 4 weeks later, the water still did not run off. Yet we have that kind of grade and elevation to work with. There's culverts plugged with straw. My father and I were pitchforking out of the culverts. There's ditches that bulrushes grow 9, 10, 11 feet tall. We're willing to go and cut the drains when they're dry. But why is it that there is no, like, we have to prioritize when, like, for example, we went through 3 to 4 years of dry, you know, it kind of flip-flopped back and forth, but we had a drier cycle, okay, which is conducive to doing drainage, right? To, you know, when it's drier, that's the best time to go out and, you know, you're not working in the water and in the mud and everything else, right? So, but what happened now, I'm looking across our area that we farm, and other than 1 or 2 projects, there are To my knowledge, there's hardly been an excavator doing any drain maintenance. Yet in the prior years to that, when Rick Palmer was in charge of, Public Works, I guess, right? 4:30 in the morning, he's driving around when there's issues, looking at issues and whatnot, responsive to the farming community. Was he perfect? No, but nobody's perfect. But all I can speak of is how he served ourselves and the various farmers in the area, and he did a very good job of making sure, okay, there's issues, here's a timeline, we can do it in a timely manner. Yeah, we can do that. There's a little maintenance, there's some washouts, we can do that in 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, maybe next year, 2 years from now. But that machine, there was 2 machines and they were working steady throughout the south to the north. And that hasn't happened. So we need to look at proactive maintenance and steady maintenance, because be it roads, be it anything else, they need constant maintenance. Instead of winning awards for best kept gravel roads, we should be looking to win awards for the best kept drains, because that'll pay big dividends to all the constituents of the RM. Because I think drainage affects everybody, whether you're a homeowner or a farmer. There was another project that started on Cloverdale Road several years ago, whether it was 4 or 5 years ago, I'm not sure the exact time frame. They started cleaning, they started from Bracken and they got up to Boundary Road. The drain was surveyed, set to be cleaned. MTS was in there, did their locates, hydro, etc. Then it snowed that fall, so it was supposed to continue on sometime the next year. That project got shelved, never did get cleaned. There's 2 big pipes that go under Cloverdale Road near the bend where Manitoba Avenue is. You go there, pipes are sitting up in the air. Drops down into the drain, stuff like that. Some of these are relatively easy fixes. These aren't like these aren't week and month long projects, right? And the RM owns these pieces of equipment. Now, if we don't have the operators to operate this stuff, then we have to look at layering in potentially private contractors where necessary. We're getting bodies that can run those machines more than 9 till 5, because we have a short window to get things done. And agriculturally speaking, the damages start a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 after a flooding event. But even after that, day 7, 8, 9, 10, some of that crop still, you might lose 50% of that production, but you still have some level of production there. But when you start talking 3, 4, and some of it's not even run off as we speak on some farmers' fields, it is still sitting underwater on week 5. That to me is unacceptable. And that's where we have to have a good hard look. Some of it's lobbying the province for some of these provincial drains. Some of it is relatively simple fixes within the RM. Just maintenance. We're not talking about rerouting water in a lot of these cases. It's just some of this, as long as I'm around or can remember, be it 30-something years, I don't remember some of these drains being cleaned or maintained, right? So, we have to have a look at that this affects a lot of these drains, be it Wavy Creek, Netley Creek, Long Lake Drain, Parks Creek Drain, and then a lot of the other Johnson Drain, you name it. There's lots of drains that flow, that take our water away, that are either underutilized, not maintained, inadequate sized pipes on as you go downstream. We don't need consulting firms to tell us that as we bring more water and go downstream, the pipes need to increase in size. Lastly, harboring water for 3, 4, 5 weeks on the land, we talk about nutrient runoff and its effects and that sort of thing. Well, having the water sit on the land for a prolonged period of time increases the amount of nutrients that that water can absorb and take down the river and into the lakes. So it's relevant not just from the agricultural side, but everywhere. How the, having properly maintained drains. Lockport Road, I'll go back to that, for example. The one culvert's 3/4 of the way smashed shut, and it drains all those houses which flood on Lockport Road.
I know your dad.
And the water just can't get out into the drain.
I sent in a service truck on that one, took photos when I went with your dad. That whole Lockport Road was done, that was all sent in.
So, there's many examples of this. So, I mean, we need to have a good hard look, and we need to figure out how we can, in cases where producers need something done in a more timely fashion than RM can provide, where can we say, okay, well, here's the grade, this grade needs cleaning. If the producer's willing to pay or pay a portion of it or whatever it may be. I mean, it becomes very desperate times. I mean, we're pumping money into the ground, like historically speaking, we're at the highest levels ever, and it keeps growing. And then geopolitical problems, it's never ending. So we have lots at stake, and our success is good for the success of the greater community, because we have a lot of spin-off jobs. We provide a lot of employment throughout, maybe less so maybe in RM than some other RMs, but nonetheless, there's a lot of spin-off, agriculturally speaking. We're all interconnected. So
Thank you so much. To all of you, thank you for enlightening a lot of us. I've been on Councillor Hunt's been on council for years myself, but thank you for enlightening us, like some of these ideas. We are going to be having, after this unprecedented rainfall, we're going to be having a debrief. And I would strongly, I hope council agrees, we should look at having an ad hoc drainage committee like we used to, and do something fair for everybody. Look into, Tina, I'd like a copy for your quickly. We have to have a drainage committee and bring that back in. Councillor,
A follow-up would be greatly appreciated, just to see if you've made any headway with the province, just
we need
in
a
a time,
plan.
like in
We
a
have
like
to
a
come up
3-month
with-
process or something, or like just, I
We
mean, I know
have
nothing's gonna happen in 3 months.
There has to be a plan. There
But
has to be a
Yeah,
plan.
and there has to be a follow-up with us. We need some follow-up going forward. That's.
But where possible, I mean, there's a whole group in attendance, and there's many that aren't even in the group today.
Oh, exactly.
And I'm sure that I'll speak for myself and probably most or all of the people in the group. We would be glad to, where necessary, as RMS to advocate for these things, because some of this is a provincial issue, right? But we have to work together, and we have to show that this isn't a small problem. You take Wavy Creek, for example. We're bringing water all the way up past 7 down Wavy Creek, right? Like same on Petersfield Road as you go into Rockwood. We have land that runs to the angle drain that goes into the Ross Creek. Recently, 3 or 4 years ago, the RM of Rockwood brought a pile more water from further west down that drain. They put a 42-inch culvert under Petersfield Road, cleared the drain past our field, where it goes into the angle drain that ultimately turns, part of it's on Rockwood, part of it goes into RM St. Andrews. There's undersized pipes in that drain. There's bigger pipes on Petersfield Road than there is downstream. One of the pipes is rotten right now. It washed out part of the road. Then there was a crossing down the road from that, and the RM Act did finally go out and dig that crossing out. The pipe collapsed 100%. And we lost over half section of land. Jeff Donahoe lost his whole quarter out there. Netley Colony, they have a whole swath of land that has to drain through there. They lost 100%. And we go section after section after section of 100% loss. Now, I understand there's loss as you go south all along the marsh. There's a lot of sections of land, not quarters, but sections that were 100% losses. And I encourage whoever hasn't driven through those areas to do so now, because you'll see the extent of the losses.
Hey, Council people coordinator from Hannah.
Yeah, no, I just, I appreciate everyone coming down and, the number one thing I heard was we understand and pretty much you want to work together to figure some solutions to the problems we're all having. I know, Mr. Preun, you mentioned you posed a question to council about DFA. What was the question that I can follow up?
Well, you've applied for DFA funding, right? So that means that now you can overspend your budget and you can hire third party operators to clean and do some of this maintenance work that needs to be done. Because there's a lot of it. And if I may, I'd like to summarize here quickly, and Braden, if you could put up that last photo.
And if I could just on that thought, just so you, everybody prepared. Public Works or the EMO guy, everybody was trying to get excavators to hire to work. But Rockwood, Stony Mountain, your area, Trevor, everybody got it so bad, they couldn't find anyone. They had one guy working. They couldn't get cheap contractors to come.
That's not true.
Okay, Braden, if you could put up that picture there on what some of the issues are in conclusion here.
Well, I'm relaying what I was told. You can see you're all driving in excavators like.
This is Long Lake Drain. This is a major drain through the area. And if we have another rain event, nothing is going to get done. This is simple, easy work. This is a provincial drain. Although I'm sure that if you put an RM excavator in to burn that stuff off, I don't think anybody would say no. This is a major problem is that the work that needs to be done is not getting done. You've heard our frustration from your public works department, no callbacks, no responses to calls. To do nothing, spend nothing, this attitude has to stop. We have to become more resilient. We have to become bigger and stronger. Use the resources available through DFA and learn from this disaster that we have to be prepared for these events more often. They talk about climate change, and this is part of it. Start with a drainage plan, short-term, access the damage and weak spots and remediate and clean culverts. Those are very short-term issues that the RM can look after or hire a contractor to do. Long-term, drainage plan to make this RM more resilient. I mean, we're not asking to change the world, but we have to be more resilient to these issues. Because in my example, I showed on the quarter section, one compared to the other, lost $43,000. And there's quarter section after quarter section that has had that same fate. And that's only weak, never mind the higher value crops. Now that you know these issues, and if something is not done, what happens if this event reoccurs? Is it legal challenges? Our insurance has gone up, and the possibility of legal action could be what's next if we don't get going on this. Because this happens year after year after year. We were lucky we had 3 dry years in a row, and maintenance and drainage was completely forgotten at that time. And we have one rain event, and look what happened. So I leave it in your hands to do the right thing and get drainage moving.
Councillor Hunt.
So thank you everybody for all that. A couple of things. Tell you how my night started out. I guess on that June the 9th. Can you put up that one picture? On so I talk about service tractors and the lack of taking care of them is I've had a service tractor in for 2 years on this particular culvert. Phone call made at midnight, nothing could be done. I took the CEO out there about 11 o'clock in the morning. He gave the go ahead to cut the road, and at 3 o'clock, this was done. The next one.
What road is this?
This is on Henry Road. They also flooded 18 houses, and this is 3 hours later. So coupled with cutting the road and cutting the road because the culverts were blocked. We upgraded the culverts from 24 to 36, so we'll see what happens there. Service trackers, there's a main drain like, Mr. Preun has said, on Long Lake Drain. It goes into the marsh. There's 4 36-inch culverts there. The main drain that goes into the marsh, the last drain. I've been getting phone calls 2 weeks on it. I took the CAO there on Tuesday. He looked at it. Yeah, we're gonna get it done. He phoned the foreman. Yeah, it's gonna get done. We had 2 more inches of rain on Thursday, and it got flooded again. 2 of the farmers in the room had called me on it this morning. Backed up water in other areas, and that into my road. Everyone knows where I live. Hall Road. I put that service tracker in since the springtime because we had debris in the springtime. There's 2 culverts there. The markers are missing off one. You talk about fixing them. This was a problem that should have been fixed a year ago, and it wasn't. So the farmer sitting in the room here, he reseeded that, I don't know, probably 100 acres on my corner there. When it rained again, it flooded out again. So it lost 2 crops in that field. And that can't be happening, especially when the service trackers are put in. Another one up in the north end, farmer sitting in a room, that a culvert request in for 3 years now, 2 years to put the culvert in. I took the CAO and showed them that one too. You know, I get the answer. We're going to look at it. We're going to keep track on it. Well, you can't go out and fix it when there's a 10-inch rain coming. Several farmers ask if they can put their own buggies or their own scrapers in the ditch, and the answer is no. Like Mr. Aldinger said, it's no. If you cut the culvert, we're going to. Like, we want partnerships. We want you guys to fix it. You got GPS on your machine. You know the lay of the land of your field, every drain. You all have main drains that go into our ditches, and silt comes in out of there. A lot of you guys go with your scrapers and clean out those slow leaks into our ditches and put it back into your field. You know where it has to go. Let them do that, you know. We have to get in where their excavators and do where the culverts are because we can't get close. Every time the mower goes in there, the grass doesn't get cut by their culverts and that, you know, so that needs to be done, you know. So farmers want to do that kind of stuff and get it done. And as far as the contractors, I give 3 or 4 or 5 names, people in our municipality, and I called them. They never got called. Maybe they may be busy, but they never got the phone call. So to say that they have been called,
I'm relaying.
I understand that. But this is why we do some research. And this is why the committees were good at one time, because whatever, there's 4 or 5 contracts. I give the CEO the names of them. Now, whether they're busy or not, I don't know. We all know contractors in the area that have this kind of equipment and can do this kind of work, and they weren't called. So in moving forward, the service tracker is the biggest problem in getting called back. When I don't even get a call back, that's concerning. And I feel neglected on that and very frustrated on it. And if I don't get you guys call me, you guys call the other counselors. You know, some of us asked for some of these service trackers. We were denied to look at the service trackers because it may be a FIPA thing. People give the information they were told is personal information. Well, Mr. Feeble-Cornwell asked for where the service trackers are. We were denied that information, correct?
Okay, Councilor Hunt, do you have something other than calling down staff? I know.
You're not calling down staff.
Yeah,
I'm trying to fix. Well, then fix it then, Marisol.
Wayland came here, gave a presentation to all of council.
That's got nothing to do with the service tracker.
Exactly, on service tracker.
It doesn't have nothing to do with that. The issue is someone returning a call and going out and doing the work. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks, council, for listening.
Thank you all for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
We look forward to seeing her,
Oh, hang on, guys. I got one more picture. Just show that picture of Highway 68. I want to show every picture that if there's a way to do something, you can do it. This is Highway 68. I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago when they had 10 of those 16-inch, 20-inch pumps pumping across 68 highway. This is the field where the water's off now. It looks good. But go to the one where all the tractors are and you call this. Yeah. So there's Highway 68 years ago. Yeah. When there's a way, when there's a will, there's a way. There's people that have equipment. There's 10 tractors there. That's when Arberg was flooding on Highway 68.
There's resources here.
I know.
There's resources here.
Right.
It just takes a phone call. We're all willing to jump up and help.
Use the information and use what other. This isn't a new experience for us flooding. It's happens for hundreds of years. So thank you, everyone. Pardon me?
We got the equipment standing. We see there's something happening. Why can't we use it in a case like this?
It's up to
That's what bothers us.
I understand.
Just like John says, you have a crop there. You're all worried about Lake Winnipeg. You lose all the nutrients. you have to, reseeding sometimes is not the answer. You have to apply more fertilizer. Where did they go? Until they put up there, and the farmers get the blame.
Thank you for wanting to help.
Yeah, thank you all.
We can't even ditch our own ditch.
Right. No, you know what? I can go make a little copy of this. So I got. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you listening to us.
Then have something on all. We're supposed to store water.
Yes, you stay. Yes, your delegation is next. Yes.
You've been here this Yeah, we are.
There's been nothing to report.
Should have said, and each one of you should give me permission to hunt. Not that guy. Over 19 a couple years ago.
Oh, you remember that?
Half of them were sitting in the room right today. Wouldn't give.
Did you try finding mine?
I'm in pretty bad shape, so I didn't want to bother them. I don't know where it would be.
Okay, for information, we have the Red River Planning Permit issue. And for June 2026, any comments on that? I just saw that same comments as well. We had 103 building permits issued, same comments at 579. Same comments at 579. We had e-permits. Did I read that? It says number of permits issued for 2026. School for St. Andrews, 103. Oh, sorry, I was reading the bottom, that tiny writing. 103. Thank you. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. Anybody have questions on that permit? We have no old business, no new business. Now we have in camera. Be it resolved that council moved in camera at 7:28 p.m. to discuss matters that are in preliminary stages and respecting which discussion in public prejudice the municipality's ability to carry out its activities or negotiations as well as legal and personnel issues. And be it further resolved that the members of council agree to keep in confidence a matter that is discussed in a meeting that is closed to the public under subsection 152.3, and that the committee decides to keep confidential until the matter is discussed at a meeting of the council or of the committee conducted in public. Could I get a mover, please? I move that. Councilor Mondor, seconder, Councilor Slaker, all those in favor? Councilor Slaker in favor? Yep. That is unanimous. We are now in camera. Motion to move out of in camera at 7:49 p.m. Could I get a mover, please? Did you remember? I think.
Yeah.
And seconded by Councilor Dornbos. All those in favor? Next item is adjournment. Motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:50 PM. Could I get a mover, please? Counselor Schleicher, seconded by Counselor Dornbos. All those in favor? Unanimous, negative.
Thank you, everyone.